welcome to another episode of the franchise. The boys are back in town. The D-Train, the Detain, Daniel Ehrenberg, and over there on the GSP South is Henry Papali. Welcome.
Listen, party, I ain't your buddy, I ain't your friend, I ain't your partner. It's episode 232. Yeah.
It's a really good Nolte. I gotta give you that one, Hank. And I gotta be honest, I've been working on mine this week.
Really?
So maybe we can have dueling Noltes.
That'd be fine. I've done it. I feel like I've just done it in conversation, but I didn't. All
right, welcome to the show. God damn it! I like to do the angry Nolte.
Yeah, it's very high though.
Yeah, but he turns into that.
He can get high, that's for sure.
Yeah. Listen, Elaine. I expect you to be home with a sandwich for me tonight. God damn it!
Goddamn wife's over here. I got an Ed O'Toole over here. We're not gonna use her very much, but it's alright, Eddie. Alright.
Get over here, watermelon!
Get over here!
Oh, Nick Nolte would have been a great Scorpion.
Oh, there's another voice we're gonna be doing in the second part of the show.
What's that? Oh my God! Are you referring to me, the Wishmaster?
Listen, Wishmaster, this isn't your show, alright? It's not your time. We did you already, so get the fuck out of my show.
Oh, hello, Reggie Hammond. Tell me all your wishes.
This guy, listen to me, Dejin, or however the fuck you say your name is. This guy's got more heart than anybody I ever knew.
That moment is so false, dude. I'm gonna call bullshit on that moment right now.
It's a little fun. You know, it's the delivery.
Did we say what we're covering? 48 hours.
No, we did not. Episode 232. That's right. On our original list, this was mine. On our original legal pad list that I wrote, and Dan, we both did together at 48 hours. Took us a long time to get here, but I've been wanting to get here.
Basically, when we first started talking about the show, I was like, let's do slasher movies. And Henry was like, let's do buddy cop movies.
Yeah. The first 30 entries of the list are probably just that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny.
So, I just kept thinking of Eddie Murphy shit.
He has so many franchises. It's amazing that we've only done Beverly Hills Cop and this now because he's such a franchise guy, man. We've got to get into those Doolittles.
That's why we didn't. We wanted to do right.
You know what though? That Doolittle franchise is more complicated than you think, man.
Is that right?
Yeah, because there's the original. You have to go back and cover that with Rex Harrison. God, which is 2.5 hours long.
Really?
Yeah. Then you have to go and watch those VOD ones that are about the actress who played Eddie Murphy's daughter.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think one of them is called $1 Million Mutts, if I remember correctly.
Great. That sounds really good. We'll have to do Downey.
What?
We'll have to do Robert Downey.
What are you talking about?
Doesn't his Doolittle doesn't count?
Oh my God, I forgot he has a Doolittle.
Yes, sir.
God, that was this year.
It was very recent.
That feels like a lifetime ago.
It was very recent. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's funny. I totally forgot that exists. You're right. Doolittle. That's a complicated franchise. You got to deal with Guy Ritchie.
Well, what happened with Boy, I'm going to sound really out of touch here, but maybe I won't. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. What happened to Coming to America 2? Is that done?
No, it has a release date. It's supposed to come out in October, right?
So it is done. It's complete.
I'm watching my computer the whole time we're talking about this, just virusing up.
Oh, well, you sound great for a virus inhabiting your computer. Did it get the COVID, your computer?
No, it's opened 4 different Safaris. That's good. I've had to force quit all of them. That's what I'm working on. Why can't anything work?
I don't know, man. You have bad luck over there in And you're
I ordered a new microphone for this episode.
tell them about that.
It didn't come with a cord. I went to set it up tonight for the first time. I have to buy a cord separately? So you know what, motherfuckers? If you don't like the way we sound on this podcast, fucking send me some equipment.
That might be the smartest thing we've ever seen. Give us some equipment. You know we have fans out there who are total audio heads, got thousands of dollars of spare shit sitting around the garage. Send it our way.
I live at 780 Madison Street, apartment 3 for the next 2 weeks. Send me that shit.
We'll sound golden from now on.
Dynamite.
Dynamite.
All right. What were we talking about?
A couple of movies, 48 hours, another 48 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, so right. You wanted to do buddy cop movies. We've done some. The Lethal Weapons. The Rush Hours.
Yep.
Bad Boys. Oh, I was talking about Eddie Murphy franchise. We haven't done that. Yeah, right. We haven't done that yet. Fucking The Clumps too.
Yeah, you got that. Yeah, you got. Well, we did The Cop. We did Beverly Hills Cop. Boy, he is really attached to.
I didn't realize there were 2 more Beverly Hills Cop movies.
You're joking?
No, I was talking about the ones we're going to cover today. That if you just changed like a couple of lines in the script, they could be Beverly Hills Cop movies.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
Beverly Hills Cop is just like it's like a shined up version of this. It's like someone took some Windex to 48 hours. That's Beverly Hills Cop.
I think Beverly Hills Cop is a tad lighter in tone.
That's what I'm saying about the Windex.
Oh, I see. I didn't really. That was a strange analogy. A good one, I guess. My head wasn't there. Yeah,
man.
Shine it up. I thought you meant like polish it off, make it a little less rough. I don't know.
Yeah, that is what I mean.
I mean, there's swearing, there's violence. I don't know. I mean,
that's what I'm. 48 hours, Henry.
Yeah. Good, great.
Are we going to talk about Walter Hill? I'm like, I feel like one of the reasons that we've gone so long without covering this is that, like, I feel like film nerds are all real Walter Hill heads, and I'm just not. I'm like dumb when it comes to this guy.
I realized something very surprising. We had talked about him briefly last week, like we're gonna mention him tonight. And I was looking on Letterboxd, looking at them. I've only seen like 5 of the guy's films that he's directed.
What if I don't think he's that good?
That's fine, because he's only made a couple of good films. Here's the thing.
You don't know that. He's made like a million movies you've never seen.
Yeah, I'm taking a guess. You know what I realized in my experience? I'm a fan way more of Walter Hill, the producer.
What's he produced that he hasn't directed other than the Alien franchise?
That's all. But that's enough.
Great.
Because he had a strong hand in all of those, and that's something.
Let's go through his career as a filmmaker. Oh, okay. Let's do good, great. What is it? What did we used to do on the show?
Well, it was like bad, good, great, essentially.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
I guess.
What do you do on Wiki or Letterboxd?
I'm on IMDb.
Okay, great.
All right, but most of these movies we haven't seen, so he starts off. He comes out of the gate with this movie, Hard Times. That's like about Charles Bronson as a boxer.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I mean, I'm not gonna watch that.
Like, that's great. As a film nerd, I have to watch a Charles Bronson boxer movie to truly understand this great filmmaker.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I feel like I got the feeling Walter Hill. You know what I kept thinking of? I kept thinking of Tony Scott, especially during another 48 Hours. It felt like Beverly Hills Cop 2 aesthetic to me, like everything about it. And I think
that's just the big 80s action movie aesthetic. I mean, come on, another 48 Hours. That's not like a passion project.
No, it's not.
He's there. He's blowing shit up for Eddie.
No, but I mean, like, I meant like visually, and also when it takes place, like Eddie's blown up now. He's just like in.
Are you talking about all the human growth hormone he's taken?
Clearly, dude, we'll get there. But like,
I'm sorry, that's not how necks grow.
This was when I remember this. This was when, as a kid, because Eddie Murphy was my hero. And he still is, but
He still is.
for that stuff, just like Chevy Chase is still my hero. I'm not just not gonna say they're my heroes.
They can be someone whose work you appreciate and move down from the hero ranks.
My hero ranks are full. It's a full deck.
At some point in my life, Woody Allen was one of my heroes. I still love his films, but I wouldn't necessarily refer to him as such.
Well, I wouldn't refer to him as my hero either, but I would give him the cred that he's the first director, probably Scorsese and him, that I ever started to pay attention to and learn, listen about directors. So I can never take that away from him. But you're right, the hero thing. Well, because hero has to sort of fall into.
Once we use the word hero, then we are referring to them in terms of their moral character.
Yeah. I don't think Eddie's done anything too bad except sleep with a transvestite, right? And that's not he
sort of hasn't he impregnated 1 million people and not given them money?
Oh, it's worried about that.
I don't know.
I can take BB King and Muddy Waters out of my hero panel if that's a way to judge.
Yeah, maybe.
No,
I don't know anything about BB King and Muddy Waters' day-to-day lives.
A lot of kids.
A lot of kids.
A lot of kids. Yeah.
All right. So he follows up Bronson. He brings in Ryan O'Neal and does The Driver. That looks like it could be good, right? But I've just never seen it.
Yeah, I mean, what does this sound like? O'Neal stars as the driver, a getaway driver for robbery.
No. The Drive admitted at the time that it was a ripoff of that movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
He copped to that. Well, that's good. I'd be interested in this.
All right, then he does The Warriors.
Yeah.
You don't like that movie, right?
You know what it is? I've never given that movie a concentrated viewing. I know everyone in the world loves that movie. I've just never.
It's really fun, but
No, I would totally.
What's up with Walter Hill's? His whole rep is I make street movies.
Yeah,
my shit's gritty on the street, and every Walter Hill movie I've ever seen, it's just a bunch of fucking explosions and shit.
It's a big thing with him, yeah.
I mean, The Warriors, it's something out of Archie.
Yeah, you mean the way they're dressed and shit?
Just the whole everything. It reminds me of a little kiddie book.
It's an R-rated West Side Story.
Yeah, it is, and it's better than West Side Story, but
that's not hard.
I agree. So then he does The Long Riders. That's a Western.
Yeah.
Henry. Then he does Southern Comfort, a drink that you used to drink.
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
then 48 Hours. All right. Then he does Streets of Fire. Another one. It's a gritty street movie, they say, but it's called Streets of Fire.
And it's a musical.
And Rick Moranis is in it.
That's
what are we doing?
I don't know. And then his next movie is one of my favorite comedies ever made.
Brewster's Millions, which is a famously bad movie. And then he follows that up with Crossroads, which, I mean, the fucking plot description starts with Ralph Macchio is Lightning Boy, a kid who can make a slide guitar sing.
Yeah, I believe I turned it off. I believe I tried out that movie because it was inspired by one of my heroes.
Eric Shitton? Isn't he involved in that movie?
Who?
Eric Shitton.
Oh, probably, but no, it's inspired by one of my heroes, Robert Johnson, one of the greatest guitar players ever in the history of the universe, but it has nothing to do with that whatsoever. So
he then does Extreme Prejudice with Nick Nolte. He does Red Heat with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Belushi. That's unwatchable because it's Jim Belushi's in it a lot.
Yeah. Then he does a great one.
Johnny Handsome, I've never seen. That's a Mickey Rourke thing.
Love it.
Another 48 Hours. He does Trespass with Ice-T. Then
Yeah.
Geronimo, an American Legend, which is boring, and then Wild Bill, which is boring, and then Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis. I've never met a single person that's ever liked it. Then Supernova, which I think he was like a replacement director on. I saw that. That's this like ridiculous fucking space movie that was like edited to shit by apparently, I think like maybe Coppola did like a ghost editing job on that movie.
Really?
Yeah. It's a crazy movie.
Alan Smithy's on it, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's too well known. They didn't use Alan Smithy, so they picked another one.
Right. Oh, right. Walter Hill took his name off of that movie as opposed to all the other movies. And then Undisputed with Wesley Snipes boxing.
I remember when that came out. That I remember.
I mean,
Ving Rhames. Yeah, no, not a...
He did the pilot of Deadwood. That's the best thing he's ever done.
I mean, for my money...
Bullet to the Head with Sylvester Stallone and The Assignment, which is a fucking offensive movie where Michelle Rodriguez plays a woman who it's like a revenge movie where she's like transgendered. She's supposed to be playing like a man who has transitioned into a woman.
So is that a double entendre?
Yes.
Like The Assignment?
Yes.
Wow.
So I'm sorry. Why is this guy one of the classic filmmakers of all time?
I think what we got on our hands here is a guy who does know how to make things flow and move and
really? Because I've seen another 48 Hours.
Point
Not a lot of
taken.
flow there.
Point taken.
It's like a woman going through menopause. There was so little flow.
But you know, for my money, I love 3 of his films. I love them. 3 films. So think about it like a band. Is there a band you like that's only made 3 good records?
I mean, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's
So
like
still
that
can
band.
Like who?
I don't know. I can't think of a band that's only made 3 good records.
I've been trying to.
It's usually 1, 2, or a lot.
Yeah. I was trying to think of things like that. I thought it was an interesting compare. I was trying to think of it the other day. I don't remember what director was making me think like that, but I was like, if this was a band, I wouldn't be so hard on them. But we are hard on directors. But and Walter Hill, I don't really. It's a bad one to make a case for because I don't care personally. But sometimes when we see like a filmmaker who's made like 4 good films and like maybe 8 bad ones, are we a little hard on that person?
Well,
Sabbath made 6 great albums and then never made another good record again. Black Sabbath, and they're one of my favorite bands in the top 5.
I think I'm actually less hard on auteurs because, like, when it comes to like a big director, like you can choose your material kind of at a certain point, and so that's the material you're choosing?
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I don't think Walter Hill at this point really has like the luck of the draw. Like he can make anything he wants.
Not now.
Yeah, but like he once did.
Yeah, clearly.
I mean, he was able to get Geronimo, an American Legend, and Wild Bill made in the space of 2 years.
And those were big movies at the time. I remember the promotion of them was big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember those.
And then
coming
Tombstone was way better than both of them.
Yeah. But like, you know, Johnny Handsome and 48 Hours and Brewster's Millions I love. And I'm really surprised you haven't seen Johnny Handsome. I think you'd fucking love it.
I'm
It's
sure
so
I will. I've seen
ridiculous.
Johnny Suede. That's enough for me. Just the listeners out there, if you're a big Walter Hill head and this has been an annoying, like anyone who's listening to this for the first time, oh, they're covering a Walter Hill movie. They've already shut it off.
No,
But
we're
like,
not being nice, but
let me know what should I be watching?
I feel like the common answer will probably be something like Southern Comfort. I've heard a lot of things about that make that like a coming home.
I was gonna say
type of movie.
Streets of Fire. I feel like people like that one.
I don't know. The only one I'm interested in that you brought up at all was The Driver. I'd like to see that because I also like Ryan O'Neal and talk about an actor.
I love Ryan O'Neal.
I love him too, and talk about an actor that just went off the rails.
Well, he was very complicit in that murder, and
murder.
wasn't he on the boat with?
It's Walken and Robert.
Oh, Wagner. You're right. You're right. Wait, but wasn't Ryan O'Neal a really shitty dad?
Yeah.
He can't be. He can't be one of our heroes, Henry. But he is a very fine actor.
Who are your heroes? They're all unimpeachable people, Christ-like figures.
Yes, that's why they're my heroes. My heroes tend towards the moral character of someone like, say, Superman.
You know what? Wow. Okay. A perfect human being.
Yeah.
No flaws.
Did I ever tell you about the story about I was in a class in high school talking about heroes?
The show heroes.
No. I was in college when that came out. So it was like there was a class who was doing it was like a younger class who had to do a thing in the auditorium, like where they talk about their heroes. Okay, and it was like one of my teachers was running it, and she said she was impressed how many of the kids picked their parents as their teachers. As their heroes, yeah. And I responded like, wow, that's kind of fucking surprising. I would have just gone with like Spider-Man. It was just supposed to be a joke. And then there was this super Christian girl next to me, Katie Forte, and she turned to me and without missing a beat, she just goes, I feel sorry for you.
Oh, nice. Her name has come up before.
I know, because she's a cunt.
The Forte.
Yeah.
She said that. I feel sorry for you.
I feel sorry for you. I've always remembered that.
I wonder what she's doing right now.
Voting for Trump, probably. I don't know.
The
He's
Katie
a hero.
Forte world. Boy.
All right, let's go. Let's get into it. Walter Hill. How about the genesis of 48 Hours? Are you familiar with this story?
I mean, probably just about as much as you are. So, sure.
All right, you got Lawrence Gordon. He comes up with an idea of a buddy cop movie where it's like one of them's a criminal and they only have 48 hours to solve a case or whatever. He pitches it in 1971 when he has an office at Columbia Pictures. Columbia not interested at all. He then brings it to Paramount, and Paramount's sort of into it, but they decide they really want Clint Eastwood to play the Eddie Murphy role. And
right.
And Eastwood's like into the idea of playing a bad guy, I guess, at this point in his career, but he goes off and does Escape from Alcatraz instead.
Which I'm glad he did.
Yeah, it's a better movie.
Okay. I don't think I like where this show's going, to put it where like you would put it to me. Oh no. All right.
Okay, so then Richard Pryor hits it big, gang. And what happens is black people are hot in Hollywood. Sort of like they are right now.
They can carry a movie, I guess. Is the discovery is they can be a lead in a movie.
Well, we already knew about Sidney Poitier, but now it's like, oh, funny black people, that's a thing?
New discovery. That's
wow, amazing.
Yeah. Right.
So they come up with the idea of Nick Nolte being in the movie. That's solid stuff. But they don't know who the black guy is going to be. So since the only black guy they've ever heard of is Richard Pryor, they offer it to him. He says no. Then the head of Paramount's like, give me another black.
Right.
Bring me a second black.
Is that how the head of Paramount?
Yeah, that's the head of Paramount.
Not what I ever pictured.
And they come up with Gregory Hines. All right.
Fine.
All right, and then someone has the right idea to say, well, see, what he's good at is dancing around, and what we're looking for is both an actor and a comedian.
It's Hill's girlfriend, if I'm not mistaken. Walter Hill's
That's
girlfriend.
right, you're right, it was. So Walter...
And this guy's on Saturday Night Live. He's kind of fucking funny. Why don't you give him a shot?
Yeah, you ever watch that show? It's like insanely popular, and right now, only anybody cares about one cast member. They're only tuning in for this guy. Maybe let's try him in a movie.
Walter Hill's like, Saturday... what? What is that? I don't know.
Is that the show with the bee sketches? I liked the bee sketches.
I don't watch Laughing.
I only like
Yeah.
the streets. He liked Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. That's a street
Yeah,
sketch.
she showed him that.
Mhm.
She's like, "All right, honey, come here. This one I think you'll dig."
Yeah. So Murphy likes the idea. He's in. He's cast, and but he vetoes the name of the character. It was Willie Biggs. He says that's a stereotypical black. Let's change it to Reggie Hammond, which to me sounds fairly stereotypical. Also,
I don't feel that way.
Maybe-
I
has Reggie become a more popular black guy name since 1982? Possibly.
don't know.
I
mean,
feel stupid right now.
no. I mean, I just don't. I never thought of Reggie as a white or a black name. I mean, you got Reggie Jackson.
Yeah,
You know,
right there.
Reggie. No, I know. It's like the most famous Reggie I can think of. I didn't think either way. I did see his point on Willie Biggs. Probably not the Biggs part, but Willie. I mean, that's
It's
I
not
got
great.
it.
It's not great.
And
You know,
Reggie-
they mentioned the name Willie Biggs in the second movie as sort of like a nod, which I thought was
I thought it
cute.
funny.
Yeah. But in the context of the movie, it does sound sort of minstrelly.
Right, the way he says it, because Eddie says it into.
He says something like, "Are you Willie Biggs?" And I'm like,
Right.
"Oh, jeez."
Yeah. Don't do that voice. But anyway,
Oh, good call, Henry. Did I do a voice just now?
I'm kidding.
Well, I'm not. You really can't do it.
It's how
I
Eddie
can
was
do
taught.
this, guy.
Any lines we say that Eddie has that are great in 40 hours, we'll just speak like this. All right.
Well, I wasn't really doing an impression. I was kind of just doing a black guy voice, and that's not great.
All right. I think you're fine.
All right, thank you, Henry. Next up, we have the writers. We've got to write this baby. Right?
Yeah, I'm waiting. I thought a statement was coming next. Yes. Yeah.
I just thought you could, help me along.
You're really good at the summaries, but we do have Stephen E. D'Souza, and
That's-
on his casting couch.
Well, no, I got to tell you something. A fun fact about this film, he used his paycheck from this movie to rent out an office and to purchase a casting couch. He bought it fresh couch, perfect condition, Henry. And then it only took about 3 weeks, but he kept it for many years.
Well, then that does sabotage my joke, but I'm going to make it anyway.
Okay.
On his casting couch at the time of 48 Hours, he decided to get Roger Spottiswoode and Larry Gross and have a DP with one of the extra women.
Yeah. And then they played sort of like a dirty version of hide and seek that they hilariously called Spottiswoode.
Stephen E. D'Souza.
Spottiswoode.
Yeah.
Spottiswoode's weird to see here because that's his only writing credit ever. He's actually a
That's interesting.
filmmaker.
Well, right. That's how I know him. I didn't know that was his only writing credit.
Yeah.
Didn't he do a Bond?
Yeah, I think he did Tomorrow Never Dies. Is that right?
Right. He did the best Brosnan then.
He's made some good movies, actually. Terror Train. That's a great early 80s slasher movie. And Turner and Hooch is very watchable. All right. The Sixth Day with Schwarzenegger.
Oh, he's done a lot of shit you like.
Yeah,
Did Stop or My Mom Will Shoot?
that's a tough one. It's very fun and worth watching, but that is a very bad movie. And a stain on his record, I would say. How would the fucking Broccolis gave him a Bond movie 5 years after Stop or My Mom Will Shoot? What were they thinking?
I don't know, man. The Broccoli's can be very strange in who they deem worthy of a. I mean, these are the same people who discarded Martin Campbell and then all of a sudden decided, you know what? When we're bringing back Bond with a brand new actor, we're going to call it Casino Royale. We're going to get a fresh new. Let's get Martin Campbell. He was good.
They are the kings of Quentin Tarantino going I want to do a Bond movie, and they're like, I don't know, man. I'm not sure that's really gonna work. And then it's let's get the Turner and Hooch guy.
Yeah, they're like, we heard through the grapevine that this Christopher Nolan is interested in doing I don't.
The Bond movies have an aversion to art.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right about that. I mean, I know you'll laugh, but they did go. They got one. They got one, right? They've gotten a few that they've considered artistic directors.
The closest they get to art is like Sam Mendes.
Sam Mendes, yeah. And even I know you loathe this movie, and a lot of people do. Mark Forster did Monsters Ball. They grabbed him right after he did that, didn't they?
No, he'd done maybe Finding Neverland also.
He'd done both.
Yeah.
Now pictures are going through my head. So he'd done both, and then they got him for Quantum Q of S.
Yeah, great film. The film. Oh, and the third writer is a guy by the name of Larry Gross. Do you know anything about this guy?
Just put a gross stain on the Spottiswood.
He hasn't really done much. Actually, he kind of has. Hang on.
Larry Gross.
Streets of Fire, he wrote that. So he's pals with Hill. He also worked on Another 48 Hours and Geronimo.
Ooh.
He wrote the Rear Window remake with Christopher Reeve.
God.
He wrote the Eastwood movie True Crime, where he's trying to get a man off death row. And the very fine Christina Ricci vehicle, Prozac Nation. So, interesting career for Larry Gross.
Interesting.
Yeah. This film...
You know what? Can I just say what really surprised me about one of the credits while you're going through who was involved in making the movie? James Horner doing the music.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's good.
I loved it. I don't remember anything about this score. I thought it was great. It was like, oh man, this is a decent score.
What's up with all those?
The Bus Boys are awesome, and I didn't forget, but like I love the Bus Boys. They're great. They have 4 songs.
Yeah, I can live without all that. But the score is very good. All those steel drums, it was kind of weirdly tropical.
Yeah. He does a lot more of that in the sequel.
Yeah,
a lot more of that in the sequel.
Can I make a confession?
What's that?
I prefer the score in the sequel.
It's a better score. Because the first movie is a really cool score, but it's not. It's got the sax and it's got kind of but it's not as much of a standout. Like Another 40-Hour score is like, whoa, this is unique.
Well, one of the things he does is like the 80s has happened by the time the sequel comes out, so it's kind of the same score, but he's like, all right, but we're gonna add some drums, make them enormous, not enormous enough, more enormous, huge fucking drums.
He makes them pretty enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Henry. This film came out December 8th, 1982.
I was 4 years old.
The holiday season was in the air.
Christmas movie.
Is this a Christmas movie? They should, instead of steel drums, they should have popped in some sleigh bells.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
I don't even know when this movie takes place, so I don't like what season. It's
That's
San Francisco.
A great point. It takes place over the course of 2 days. I know that much.
Good call.
Mm-hmm. Budget of $12 million and a box office take of $78.9 million. This was an enormous fucking hit. Came in at number 7 at the box office for 1982. And right there between Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and Poltergeist, previous episode.
Wow.
Previous episode and future episode.
That's right.
And it was also nominated for 1 award.
I believe it was this one.
It's the GGs. The Golden Globes. It's the Hollywood Foreign Press, mostly French.
You know, you're a lot like James Horner, Henry. Like, to me, that GG theme is like his original 48 Hours theme. Right?
Really?
But then if you pull out one of your more recent themes, like, say, the Saturn Awards.
Yeah.
It's a lot more complex and rich.
Wow, that's extraordinarily generous. I never thought there was much of an evolution to my franchise theme song writing.
I think that I'm surprised to hear you say that, honestly, because I think
You
there's
think
been
there
a
has
huge
been, huh?
evolution.
Is that
I think
right?
the stuff you're doing now. Think of
It's the best.
the AFI theme is like Pablo Honey. You're like on fucking Kid A already.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's very sweet of you to say that. Yeah. So that okay. Pablo. AFI has got a simplistic, basic feel that might not have been about the theme itself, but about my inability to compose a good one.
But I think that
Yet it's beloved.
was the case with Radiohead as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were doing what they knew.
Yeah, they were they had less money, less backing. They didn't have a producer yet. They were sort of just a bar band who were plucked out of obscurity.
Yeah. I still don't have any of those things, but I know what you mean artistically. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Henry. You have a
I
producer
thank
now.
you. What?
Do you like how I repurposed the Elizabeth theme for our game? This is an off-air conversation. 48 hours, Henry.
I didn't listen to the game yet.
Oh, okay.
How'd that come
the
out? Did it get
GGs.
recorded?
Yeah, it got recorded. It's up. GGs. Eddie Murphy was nominated for an award they had back then, New Star of the Year.
Oh, good.
Yeah. They even had it like there was a male New Star of the Year and a female New Star of the Year. Could you believe it?
I like that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Eddie Murphy unfortunately lost. He was not the New Star of the Year.
Oh boy.
And
This is gonna be
no,
painful.
I know what you're thinking, and it could be a lot worse. It's not that bad.
Okay.
They gave it to Ben Kingsley for Gandhi.
All right.
Yeah, come on. You're not going to give him too much shit for that.
No, none at all. Okay. I had my head in like comedy, and I was trying to. I was thinking.
Why do you have your head in comedy? We're talking about awards shows.
When you said best new star, I just had it in my head because of 48 Hours and Eddie, and you said they're not going to give it to Eddie. I was like, oh, who they give it to? Some 10-year-old who was in some one little movie in '82 that everyone loved and then never heard from again.
Knowing the Golden Globes, they would have given it to Joe Piscopo.
That's exactly sort of what I thought you were going to say, and you didn't. So it was an all-encompassing new star award.
That's right.
Yeah. Was that Ben Kingsley's first movie ever?
I think it was his first as star.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Thought he was like a veteran actor by that point.
I mean, maybe he was in England, man.
Yeah. Because this is Eddie's literal film debut. I mean,
it is. Yeah, he'd never been in a movie before this.
No,
not even like a bit part or anything, which surprised me.
No, I mean it's kind of amazing because you'd
think they'd like throw him in the Blues Brothers or something,
right? I wonder about that when I was watching the movie. I'm glad we're talking about it as we're about to get into the plot anyway. It's like, that kind of stuff feels everything now seems just it's because of like our access to everything. We already know what we kind of would like to see and who would be great in something. Like if even just you've picked Saturday Night Live right now. Or any comedy show, be like, oh, why don't they have like a... It's like, oh, they will eventually. But it's like back then, it's kind of like, it is interesting that what was going on in 1980s that like no one had that thought for him yet. Or
Hollywood, Henry, was so fucking racist. Putting Eddie fucking Murphy as the star, as a co-star in your movie in 1982 was considered a risk.
It's true.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, you're right. And I think
the guy was a firebrand. Everybody already fucking loved him by this point.
Love him. And I think that part of what you said, you touched on it earlier, sort of jokingly but inadvertently poignant, was that it's got to be one of the aspects of that has got to be like the comedy, the Sidney Poitier thing, like where they were just kind of like, well, that's been proven. We know we can put out a drama with a black leading man who's dramatic.
Yeah.
And Pryor was just still, he was really, I don't know if by 1982, he was putting out those stand-up movies, he was beginning those.
Well, he hadn't started doing those Gene Wilder flicks?
I think he had, but like, Eddie, also, Pryor was older. And Eddie at this point, I think, is like 20.
Yeah.
when they're filming that. I mean, that's, people are probably like, ooh, you fucking nuts. Can't put it. Now they give Pete Davidson a fucking 3.5 hour movie about Staten Island.
Now, if anybody pops in anything, they give them a star vehicle.
That's what I'm trying to get at, I guess. You're cutting to it better. Yeah. Like now there's no surprises anymore. So when you see that anybody on Saturday Night Live just has a movie, you're like, oh, yeah.
Now it's like, hey, Stranger Things, people like that. Their favorite character seems to be that little girl. Now she's going to be the star in movies.
And absolutely. And back then there was no real vehicle to be speaking about that. People would just know because of ratings and like letters to the producer of Saturday Night Live, like to Lorne Michaels. Hey, you should give him a movie. I mean, it didn't work like that.
Or like test audiences.
Exactly. It doesn't work like that anymore, man.
Now it's just social media, man. You see Twitter blowing up about Millie Bobby Brown. Some Hollywood executive's going to give her a movie.
But he's going to get a movie. Yeah.
You get a movie. A movie.
I want a movie. But this is a huge deal, man. I mean, can you imagine you're on Saturday Night Live and then you're fucking given this thing and it's tailor-made. I mean, we're going to disagree on this movie clearly, but
we're not. It's a good movie. It's just, what did I say was better than this?
Oh, was it another Walter Hill joint?
I don't know. To me, this movie, I saw it when I was young, when I was really into Eddie Murphy, and I remember really liking it. It was like one of the classics, but I gravitated towards Coming to America more and Trading Places because I was a kid, and those are more fun.
Did I? I have seen this the least of the 80s Eddie Murphy things.
I know, you've probably seen the fucking Golden Child more than this.
I absolutely have. There's no doubt.
That's crazy. So, what I was going to say, as I try to remember what I was going to say...
I'm so sorry.
What the fuck did I start saying?
You were saying that, like, you were gravitating when you were a kid more to the Coming to Americas and the Beverly Hills Cops.
Yeah. So I revisited this, like, maybe a year or two ago or something.
I saw that on Letterboxd.
Mm-hmm.
I was disappointed, but...
Yeah, I gave it like a 3.
No, I was disappointed that you had watched it at all and didn't save yourself for the show.
Oh, you think I should have saved myself for the show?
I do.
You do?
I don't watch certain movies. I just know eventually.
Well, I didn't watch the second one, man.
Okay.
Yeah, so I watched the first one, and it was just like sort of shocking, like how stridently racist it is, and I mean, uninvolving it is. And so it bothered me because I was trying to watch it as like a Walter Hill movie. It's like not. It doesn't really hang together. It's a series of scenes more than anything else, and I think it's a really fucking entertaining movie. And I was being too hard on it a year ago, trying to look at it as art or something. Because what it is, it's like a series of YouTube clips. You chop like scenes out of this movie, and they'll work on their own. As a movie, you don't really get involved in it. I'm not like, oh, I wonder what Gans is up to. I don't give a shit. You're just watching Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte together, and I kind of wish they liked each other earlier in the movie. It's too much of him just, like, saying racist shit and Eddie taking it. Like, and...
That was, I haven't watched it in a long time, and that was a thing that was difficult to process, too. Like, the casual amount of... at least they give Nolte, it's not an excuse, but it was interesting, like, how he tells him later in the movie when they're buddies.
I hated that line. Go ahead, say it.
Right, he says, all that stuff of N-word and watermelon and all that. I was just saying that to keep you down, And they don't give Eddie sort of any feeling about like, well, that's great that you were using it to keep me down, but that's still uncool, motherfucker. Like, why?
No. Eddie Murphy's like totally cool. That's what cops are like. That's great.
It's odd. It's very odd. And in the police station, it's weird too, because when Eddie's not even around, because we all know cops aren't racist. The cops are just throwing around like it's very forced. It doesn't feel like in a movie like, I don't know, fucking Dark Blue, where they're talking like that. It's very believable. In this movie, it almost felt like they're writing in the racism. It's like,
well,
why are you
Dark
writing that
Blue. I mean, they're focusing on it.
I know, but any cop movie like End of Watch or like, this feels naturalistic, or Rampart. In this one, it feels like written in. It feels like these guys don't. These characters in this police station probably don't speak like this.
Yeah, no. I totally disagree. Like,
Okay.
To me, like, it's so fucking hard to watch something right now that treats, like, the cops as being, like, morally unassailable. Because, this movie does present Nolte like he's kind of a fuck up and he's an alcoholic and stuff. But, like, it doesn't question his tactics at all. Like, when he tells Eddie, like, I needed to just beat you down by, like jabbering racist shit at you for, like, and, like, beating you up for no reason. Like, it's just presented like that's part of the job. I'm a cop. This is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate the Nick Nolte character. Like, if
Really?
this character was in real life, he'd be the worst. I would want him to go to jail.
Yeah.
I don't think that he should be a police officer.
Yeah. Well, of course. I mean, see, I guess, one of the things with this movie is that it's just so far removed now. It's 40 years old, and I just don't. I didn't even. It was hard for me to even kind of fit it into a contemporary setting of any kind in my mind. So it's like an anachronism, this movie. It's almost like a Dirty Harry. So, and the characters are just so ridiculous. I mean, first of all, Nick Nolte is drinking and driving the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no...
But that's just fine. Like, back then, in a movie, we can make someone like a heavy drinker and a heavy smoker, a chain smoker and an alcoholic, and that's just like a cute addition to their character.
Yeah, it's true. No, it's true. But what I mean is that I wasn't particularly bothered by it. Did not remember how much Nolte says to him. I remembered like a couple remarks, and I didn't remember that Eddie doesn't push back. That was interesting to me, because in his subsequent movies, Eddie pushes back on that kind of stuff and makes them the laughingstock. And I mean, there is the one great scene though, which I don't know if you liked or not, but I mean, in Torchies, where Eddie
that's the best
owns
scene
it.
in the movie, in either
Owns
movie. That's the centerpiece of the entire franchise. They put it exactly halfway through the movie, I think, for a reason, because it's
amazing.
It's a long ass set piece where, like, basically it's just like, Eddie, you're gonna walk in there and you're gonna tear the joint up. And it's partly my favorite scene in either movie because Nick Nolte's like barely in it.
Well, see, yeah, I mean, he's watching from the bar. See, I guess we're going to differ on that. Like, I didn't hate Nolte's character, even though he's a pretty reprehensible reprobate. I mean, he doesn't treat anyone well. But
it's okay to have anti-heroes that don't treat anyone well. I'm not going to get along with a movie where it's the only two characters we're supposed to care about are a white guy and a black guy, and the white guy's being racist the whole time.
I mean, if you put it like that, then there's no discussion. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm trying. I mean, what am I supposed to say?
No, it's about whether you can ignore that and accept that it's a movie from 1982 or whatever. But, like, I'm watching it as a movie from 1982, and I'm thankful to this film for launching Eddie Murphy's career. And I think it's actually a really well-made movie. Like, I kind of made fun of Walter Hill a little bit, but it's fun to watch. It moves. It's short and quick. The action sequences are good. Eddie is on fire the entire fucking time. From the moment you see him singing Roxanne by the Police,
right,
a moment that is fucking torched and shit on in the second one.
Yeah.
And so, like, I like the movie. I gave it a 3 last time. I'm going up to a 4 this time, honestly. Like, but there's just something about it where I have to be on Eddie Murphy's team, like, the entire time. Like, anytime it's just Nolte on screen, unless it's
Yeah.
like him chasing somebody,
Yeah.
I'm like not interested.
Well, that's
I don't want to hear you fucking being an asshole to Annette O'Toole. I don't
Right.
want to hear you calling people racist bullshit. I don't want to see you, drinking at the at the train station, at the police station, because that's just like a cool thing that you do. Yeah, I drink at work. I drink at work. I'm fucking cool.
It's getting better.
Yeah, thank you.
It's lower. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm able to just put more of the 1982 thing in my head without thinking about it. I guess because I've seen it for so long. I grew up with kind of movies like this. But oddly enough, we have covered, I'd say many movies like this that are just so ridiculous and insensitive to this topic. And for some reason, this one, maybe Eddie is just such a strong presence. And I know that he is not like, I don't know. What do you think of this? Like,
No. I know what you're saying.
He's not being taken advantage of. Like, he's such a strong person, strong actor at the time, that it's like I don't feel like I'm watching a punching bag. Whereas, like, when we watched something like Dirty Harry or Death Wish, and you're like, oh, that poor black actor.
I do think that as a black guy in 1982, you have to make this movie before you're allowed to make Beverly Hills Cop, and I think that sucks.
Absolutely agree. But I feel like like Eddie's presence is he's able to offset Nolte's horrendous behavior, and I did like their relationship. I did like it. I don't approve of the tactics, and the writing is heavy-handed at times, but I think it's still very funny. I mean, some of the lines between them, Nolte's a very good foil to Eddie. I mean, even some of the pauses and the comebacks and
sometimes, but I never feel like they're friends. Like in the second movie, when it's revealed like they haven't talked in the last 5 years, I'm like, that makes sense.
And okay, and despite I don't want to say yet what I thought of the second movie, but I was disappointed.
No, I was disappointed too, but it made sense to me because like they have decent chemistry as like partners or whatever, trying to solve a fun case, and the movie has good villains, which really helps. But
the first one that has amazing.
Yes, yeah, the first one. But like, I think like at a certain point, I don't know. Like the 80s were about like good-natured shit. Like comedies and action movies of the 80s tend to be like fun and lightweight and silly, and that's great. Like I think like Hollywood was kind of on a roll at this point in terms of like action and comedies. And this movie to me, it's not good-natured. Like I don't really have like a fun, silly time watching this.
See, I do, but it is interesting. Also, it's interesting that what you said about Eddie had to make this first, and that is sad, and it's true, because once you go to shit like 2 years later, and he's in Beverly Hills Cop, he's the one making jokes about white people that are fucking awesome and so true. So it's like clearly after this movie they were like, just let him, he can do whatever, you can do whatever you want.
And you know that he was ad-libbing those lines on this fucking set, and they're not cutting them into the movie. They're just not. They're not putting them...
Oh, you think on this movie he has retorts and comebacks that they cut?
I can't imagine Eddie Murphy.
I didn't know if he would have been like that.
Eddie Murphy's gonna sit there and be called the fucking N-word for like an entire movie shoot and never make a joke about it.
I know. No, it's a good point. I never think of this movie as being his free for all where he's just even.
No, of course it's not. He's an actor, and he's definitely the second banana. I wrote he doesn't show up until 25 minutes into the movie. Which kind of works, but the first 25 minutes really play as like a street level action movie, like what Walter Hill's known for. before it even becomes a comedy. Like, I'm
That's
not
true.
laughing until Eddie Murphy
No,
shows
no,
up.
it's actually pretty fucking dark. I mean, you got that prison break, which is totally ridiculous but awesome.
I love that scene. And the scene with
Great.
Jonathan Banks getting shot is really good, too.
I thought that was really good. I forgot how powerful that scene was, and I actually had wanted, and this would have helped. See, to what you're talking about, this would have helped a little with giving some sympathy to Nick Nolte's character. When Jonathan Banks's character gets killed, like, they give him a moment, like, over the body, but then once he gets to the station, they're all like giving him shit, and he's just like, "Yeah, cops die. What are you gonna do?" It's like, whoa, I thought
We've been led
Yikes.
to believe, like, for
Whoa.
years, like, that it's totally normal. Like, cops die, cops can kick the shit out of people. Like, cops are just, like, they could do anything.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Why not
But-
be a cop?
but then speak to my point. Then, what was your opinion of that? How they just drop Nolte's seeming emotion at when Banks?
Yeah,
gets-
I didn't like it because I thought that moment was somewhat powerful. And Nick Nolte obviously is an incredible dramatic actor.
Yeah.
And so he's able to lend gravitas to certain moments in this movie. Although I think the character is fucking shallower than piss. But you know, he was good in that, but they do move on pretty quickly. But I understand that you have to. The movie takes place over the course of 48 hours, and you need to get into, like, fun territory pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, but I like their. I mean, we're not even talking about the plot, but I mean, it doesn't bother me if we're.
Well,
not.
they
I mean,
break out. The movie starts before we even meet Nolte, right? It opens with that prison break.
That's right.
It's
That's right.
it's James Remar working on a chain gang. I fucking love James Remar. Such an underrated actor. He's so good in everything.
We always talk about him anytime we can on the show. Whenever
know.
he's in, we've covered him before. He's fucking great.
We just covered him, man. He played fucking Raiden in Mortal Kombat.
That's right. I think he was like my MVP.
Yeah.
He's the.
Oh, it
first-
was Mortal Kombat Annihilation. He
Right, that's
replaced
what he was-
Christopher Lambert. That's right.
And that he's so great. And I had it was funny because when Sonny Landham comes, who's you'll all know as well, in this he's Billy Bear, and in Predator he's also Billy.
Yeah, I noticed that actually.
Yes, he likes to be. I didn't until this second. And
Sort of like Tony Danza.
And it was interesting because I was on a rewatch. I was like having doubts for a second. I was like, boy, they got James Remar. It's so fucking great. And then they got this mute Sonny Landham. And then I'm like, no, it's fine.
But he's the odd job.
Exactly. And then I quickly got over it because I was like, no. He's perfect. He doesn't have to talk. He's just sort of his sidekick who will do anything. And I mean, they're great villains. They've got, anyway, so Nolte has to, what does he have to do to get him out? He has to get the one guy who.
It was his partner.
Right.
So, like, Reggie Hammond is in jail, and years ago, he and James Remar stole $500,000 from a drug dealer. And
Right.
now they're both in prison, but they never recovered the money, and the money is somewhere out there. So Nolte busts Murphy out of prison for 2 days, and they have to basically find James Remar. Like, that's the plot of the movie.
That's
and,
it.
and there aren't that many twists and turns. Like, they come
Nope.
close a few times, and then they get away. And, like, that's how the movie goes.
And that's one of the reasons I love this movie.
Okay.
Because it's so simple, it's so streamlined, it's so short, and it is light. It's very slight. It's a very slight movie. There's nothing deep going on here. It's just a fun action movie with like I think a perfect length. There's not a bad maybe a couple of women who aren't written at all. That's Walter Hill, of course, but there's not.
Oh, this movie couldn't give a fuck about women.
No, absolutely not. But there's really not a bad performance in the movie. Like, everyone in it. Luther's great.
I want to talk about him.
Luther's great.
Wait, no, I want to talk about him.
No, I wanted to just go through them.
Oh,
quickly,
okay. The
but
captain is good, yeah.
I love the captain. I love Nick Nolte's partners.
Kehoe is good.
He's great.
Mhm.
Ed
Bill
O'Ross
Bryan, is that the actor's name?
John, I want to say John Bryan, but
No,
it's not
that's
John Bryan.
that's Fiona
composer.
Apple's producer.
Yeah, I was gonna say Amy Mann. Um, what Brian? It's Brian is his first name.
Whatever.
Who
Let
cares?
me talk
Blake
about this guy.
Please talk.
I have not talked about this actor on the podcast, and
Oh.
he is one of my favorites. David Patrick Kelly, one of the great character actors of the 80s and 90s. What a great wild card he is in this movie. Just sort of like running around trying to get the money.
Yeah.
Like they're following him for a while. He has got that great chase through the subway. I
He's got
love
kind of
this
an
guy.
early '70s Al Pacino body.
Right, but he's got a character actor's face. He's got like
Yeah.
an underbite, but he's not bad looking either. He got his start, Walter Hill, you got to give him this. He discovered him. He's in The Warriors playing a character named Luther. He's again Luther in this. Just like Billy.
I feel like I don't know him at all. This guy.
Well, he's a regular in the films of both David Lynch and Spike Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in Wild at Heart. He's incredible on Twin Peaks. He's in
And either of those.
yeah, he's in Malcolm X. He's in a lot of Spike Lee shit.
God.
He's in Crooklyn. He's great in Crooklyn, man. And some other shit too.
Jesus, I don't remember him in anything you talked about. Wow.
Yeah, he's one of these guys. He's around, bro.
Jeez.
Yeah, he was in John Wick. I don't remember him showing up in that.
I'm usually pretty good with some of these obscure '80s character. I don't know this dude, or I guess I do, but okay.
TPK,
Wow.
he's great. I think I I started looking out for him and stuff after I watched Twin Peaks for the first time, and then I just started fucking noticing him in everything. He's one of the villains in The Crow. He gets killed by the Crow.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. I'm glad you pointed all that out. Yeah, well, he's great in this movie, and I love how he's a scumbag in this movie. But
That's pretty much what he plays and stuff.
but he loves his girlfriend, man. It's so funny. They give this guy like no character development, except he's so expressive that like he's just pitiful, and you don't like seeing him get pushed around and beaten up, and for all intents and purposes, he has like 5,000 opportunities to take off out of the country with $500,000, and he does not do so. He just he will save that girlfriend.
That's a thing in this movie, and I think it was meant to be like a thematic tie like between all the characters, because it seems like they all have like a woman that they're pining over, but like
Absolutely.
they don't actually care. This movie like perpetuates a stereotype about men where they become like enamored of a woman and see them as like this fucking princess that has to be like fawned over, but they don't actually fucking care. Like Nick Nolte at any point in this movie can put down his fucking gun and fucking racist insults and just like decide to be a good partner to Annette O'Toole, and he just never does.
No, you're right, and every woman in the movie is essentially a male savior. They're all there. Billy and James Remar's girls are there for them no matter what. Nick Nolte.
And that continues in the fucking second one.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, the only person who doesn't have a female savior, I mean, is Eddie. He's got a regular, like, I mean,
but even Eddie, like, his only subplot in the entire movie, and I'm not saying this movie needed more subplots, but, like, I mean, his one ongoing thing was trying to get laid because he's been in prison for so long.
Which is extremely funny.
No, that works. That's great.
Bring it up. Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
When he stops the guy at the club and says, "You're talking to my wife," and then puffs his chest up. See, that's the Eddie that's missing in 1990. He's gone.
Yeah, the moment where
Eddie Murphy is funny, and why he was one of my heroes is when he's a fucking skinny dude who's cocky as hell
and quick,
and
quick,
right. And tough, because in this movie, one of the things I forgot about that fight scene between him and Nolte, he kicks Nolte's ass. And
it's a good fight scene. It goes on forever. It reminded me of fucking They Live.
Yeah. but once we get to 1990,
Actually, maybe Nick Nolte's best moment in the movie was that last punch in the
That's
car.
great.
That
It's
is very fun. Great
It's
timing. It was
great.
like it reminded me of the Hulk punch in the Avengers.
Exactly. Yeah, and another moment in the car, which the car is in the movie so much. They're in the car when Eddie's talking about his Nick Nolte's woman, and he's just going on and on, like how hot is she hot? Describe her tits to me. And Nolte just like stops and sulks and like turns, pauses for the exact amount of time needed, and goes, "I can see this is gonna be a long fucking night." That's like all he says. It's not some big macho discussion where Nolte like starts actually doing that. It's great, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I liked my favorite Eddie moment, I think, in the whole movie. I think it was this one, is when he's at the bar and he like tries to hit on a woman and she says no, and then he hits on another woman and she says no, and then he like tries to get the bartender's attention and can't, and then he just says to himself, "Not my night."
He goes, "I'm Reggie Hammond. I'm with somebody. I'm Reggie Hammond. I'm with somebody." And he looks at the bartender and goes, "Hi, I'm Reggie Hammond." Well, see, I love that flip too, and I know it might come across as pandering, but it's a great scene when they're in when in Vromans. So they're in the black club, and it's all reversed. And I love Nolte goes to the bar, and he's the outsider. And I love that the bartender gives him a fucking dirty look.
Yeah.
Like, I think that would have been bad if they would have made – that would have been really bad. Think about it. Like, if he would have gone in there and the bartender would have been like, "Hey, sir, what can I get you?" It'd be like, whoa, wait a minute.
No, you needed it.
I like that he's out of place there.
Yeah, you need that, and you need earlier in the movie Eddie to have his run about. I like that he just flat out says, "I fucking hate rednecks," and he even says, "I hate white people," which is like
great.
kind of a bold line to give to like your new black star in a movie.
In 1982,
Yeah,
you'll say that in movies.
he said, "I hate white people," and then like all white people were like, "Let's get rid of Nolte. You be the star."
Yeah, and you know what's so funny about today too is these fucking racist idiots. If you said that line today, if a black person was in a movie and said that line today, you'd have all this uproar about how that person is fucking racist against white people. It's like, no, it's a reaction to being treated like that.
It's a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the same fucking thing.
All
idiots.
lives matter.
Fucking stupid, but that whole scene's great. I also love the musical juxtaposition, which I never noticed. I never thought about before. When they go into Torchies, it's this fucking like Charlie Daniels, like violin country.
Yeah, but really shitty.
Oh yeah. But then when they go to the Black Club, you see that, and so you literally see like the two different like cultures. Well, one's a culture, one's a Confederate flag, and then and the bus boys are up there, and I just love that. Like that's a club. I want to go to that fucking club, man. Like that looked like a riot, and it actually reminded me of a couple of places. No joke, that I used to go to in Pittsburgh.
It reminded me of Adventures in Babysitting. Remember when they go to the Black Club and Adventures in Babysitting?
Vaguely, dude. Now that you say it, vaguely.
Yeah.
Is there a band?
Yeah, I think there's like a jazz combination happening or something.
Wow. It's been ages since I saw that. But anyway, I love that whole thing, and the dialogue in between is great. I love his reaction on the phone when he's like, where the hell have you been, Ham? And he's like, "I'm at Vroman's."
Oh, I like that moment too. This is something you don't see in movies a lot, where it's like the cop and like the guy, whatever, and they're in the middle of a chase and they lose each other.
Yeah, that's true.
You never see that. And then like the cop has to like call him and be like, "Dude, where are you?"
That's funny. And just the way they don't cut the conversation to like feel the need. This is all I assume Walter Hill's doing, and maybe the writers, to show Eddie's part and then Nolte's reaction. Like Eddie does all of it. So he's like, "I'm at Vroman's. Yeah, I know. Of course, you don't know it. It's where the brothers hang out.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine Nolte on the other line going, "I don't know where the hell is that? I don't know that." And you
But
don't
it's
need to
also
see it.
really crucial that he wasn't just at a bar like waiting for Nolte. He actually like was following up on a lead.
Yes, that's true. That's right too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, so it's a very fun movie. They kill James Remar. They really shoot him to shit. And
It's 9 times.
can I just say Remar's look? He's wearing a wool tank top, and I've got to say it looks spectacular. And I wish I could pull that off.
I don't think many dudes can pull that off.
But he is pulling it off like gangbusters. He looks
cool,
incredible.
He's an evil character. I mean, there's nothing redeemable
No.
about him. And if you could look like that, you'd kill too.
Yeah.
He's got he's a 5 o'clock shadow that's totally 1982. It's not a beard like now where they like the Brett Ratner beard where it's like perfect. You know what I mean? That's like Remar literally just probably. They were like,
that's
"Don't
not.
shave
That
for a
was
couple-"
that was the aughts. I feel like beards are getting wilder again, and I'm liking it.
Okay, fair point. But I mean the beard. But I mean the beard he's sporting.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Tank top and the greasy hair, like it looks so natural. It doesn't look like he was in makeup
And
at
he
all.
aged so well. Have you seen Remar recently? He's still got that beard. It still looks amazing. It's got like salt and pepper in it. He's got a full head of beautiful, luscious gray hair.
Yeah, I know. I'm very jealous.
What a magical man.
It's a magic man.
He's my
He's a
MVP.
I was close. I was close, but I can't do it. But
No, you go with Eddie, of course.
I had to, and
I knew you would. That's why I felt comfortable going with someone else.
Yeah. I mean, I have to give it to Eddie. I mean, unlike you though, I do think Nick Nolte's fantastic in this movie. I think he's great.
I think he's good at the action stuff. I don't think Nick Nolte's the problem. I think the character is the problem. I think they spent so much time writing and rewriting the Eddie character, like trying to make him like palatable to white people or whatever. And I read this. This isn't just me like saying that. Like they apparently were still rewriting that character like at the end of filming, like even in editing.
Yeah.
But I think the Nolte character is not a character. I think he's just like, they were like, be gruff, drink a lot, say slurs.
I mean, he's Nick Nolte for the most part. I mean, he's just being the Nick Nolte character we know.
From lazier Nick Nolte movies. Like Nick Nolte, when he's given like a role, like in Affliction or something, like he can do that.
Oh yeah.
But then you watch him in something, I don't know, like Blue Chips or something, and like they just have him like he's an irascible guy who says "God damn it" a lot.
But I mean, it's also not easy to, Nick Nolte must have been like, wow, like I have my work cut out for me. This guy I'm with is amazing. Like, because subsequently after this movie, if you think about it, it's either Eddie alone or Eddie and his sidekicks. Because even though we loved in Beverly Hills Cop, we loved John Ashton and Judge Reinhold, they are not. I mean, Nick Nolte, I think they're like pretty even in terms of presence. Like Nick Nolte's not ever looking like he's outmatched. I mean, it's a pretty good. They're just a really good pair.
No, I think we're not supposed to think he's outmatched, but in my mind, he is.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he is and he isn't. I mean, it's clearly Eddie's movie. It's his performance. But I mean, I don't know. Like, if you put any actor in that situation, I mean, I think Nolte is.
Nolte's as good as anybody. Look, it's a good pairing. It's fine. Like as an Eddie Murphy delivery system, this is a good movie. Yeah, I give it a nice solid 4. I did write down my top 3 racial slurs.
Okay, all right.
Watermelon. I thought that was interesting. You don't really hear somebody call. Like I thought the stereotype was that like black people eat watermelons more than usual,
right?
But like you wouldn't call like, I don't know. No one's ever called me like gefilte fish.
No one's ever called me, Pizza Head.
Now people should.
Clover.
That's a cute nickname, man. What's up, Pizza Head?
Pasta Vazul.
Yeah.
Or,
Maron.
like, yeah, right. Or like the other side of my heritage, like, hey, well, what's up, four-leaf clover?
No, it would be like, hey, potato.
Right, there you go. That's a
No
potato
one...
head.
Yeah, I know. All
Actually, that is a racial slur, potato head. Yeah.
I heard. So he says spear chucker. I hadn't heard that one in a long time.
That one's tough.
Going back to ancient times, but
Really?
Always the number one. Not just the N word, but that was a very hard R at the end of that word.
Yeah, does he? And Nolte, he says it to Eddie once.
Nope.
Right? He says it more than once?
Yeah.
I don't mean when he's recounting an apology to him when he says it that
No,
time.
no.
He says it twice.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not great. I wasn't
God, not
into
even
it.
the bad guys call Eddie that.
No.
They don't call him anything.
Nobody's really racist to Eddie, even in like in Torchies. I feel like they're not that bad. Only Nick Nolte, the star of the movie.
You know what's amazing about Torchies though?
All the Confederate flags.
Yeah, I mean I see that down here. What's amazing about Torchies, and they capture so well, is the potential for hate and violence in that bar.
I know.
Never leaves. Like it's like you're watching the movie and you know how the scene turns out, but like you're like gritting your teeth. You're like, oh my God, this is horrendous.
It's like that David Cross bit, like when you're in a redneck bar and you hear the stool like get pushed out, just that. Yeah.
Did you see the Dave Chappelle monologue on Saturday Night Live? Did you watch that on YouTube?
No, I didn't.
Oh, all right. Didn't know if you could hear me. He has a joke of the very same thing. He's like, when you're talking to somebody and on the other line, they just all you hear is that twang in their voice, and you know right away, I know he doesn't wear a mask.
Yeah, well. All right, what do you give this? A 5?
Hey, man.
All
it's
right.
a fucking great movie. I love it. And I didn't really grow up with the movie. It was something I came to a little later, but...
Do you have an LVP?
Yep.
Ooh, interesting.
I'm kind of pulling a Dan here, though. So I think it's excusable. This is something you would do and do quite regularly. I am going to pick the country band at Torchies.
That's pretty good, man. The music in this movie's bad.
James Horner is very good.
No, not the score. I mean, like, the songs are all bad. That Boys Are Back in Town song sucks.
Love it. I love that song.
And, like, I heard it and I was like, oh my God, they're gonna play this a lot in the sequel, man.
That's because it's cliche now, but
it's not cliche. I'm like, what about the other song, The Boys Are Back in Town? Which came first?
I don't know, but that song sucks.
We just have two songs? No, that's on Rules.
Disagree.
Boys are back in town. Boys are back in town.
Talk about redneck. I can't roll with that song.
That song fucking rules, dude.
I love the Bus Boys. They're like a straight up big band blues.
I'm gonna give them my LVP just to fuck with you.
Fuck you. They had the balls to still be playing like blues in that type of band in the 1980s. I love them. They're anachronistic. They're great. They're gone.
Yeah, great.
They have a great song in Ghostbusters.
If you were around the 70s, I'm sure you would have been listening to like Sha Na Na.
No. The fuck. Bus Boys are the kind of music I wish still was around in bars, and it never is, ever.
I'm glad that It's fallen on the scrap
You
heap of
hate
life.
the blues. You do not like the blues. It's not one of your favorite things.
I like old, like, Delta. I can listen to, like, Son House and Robert Johnson and Blind Willie McTell and all that shit.
It's not one of your favorite genres of music. You've told me that when we first met. I mean, you get bored with the 12-bar shit. You don't. It's not your favorite thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 12-bar blues is, like, just... It might as well be reggaeton. You're just playing the same fucking thing over and over again.
Okay, so Dan is now shitting on basically my top 3 favorite genres of music. So
Reggaeton? No, you're not doing it right.
What is it?
Are you sure? Now you're doing it right.
All right. Torchy's band is my LVP. Eddie's my MVP. Who's your LVP?
Bus Boys.
Fuck you. All right, fine. Fucking terrible. 5 stars, 4 stars, and that is it for that. Let's move on.
Another 48 hours, Henry. Hey, superhero Cal? There was a superhero in the first 48 hours.
This was not a commissioned piece. So.
No, I know, but I noticed. Oh, Annette O'Toole. She's a big superhero.
Oh, right. She's Lana Lane in Superman 3, right?
Lana Lang, and also she's Martha Kent in Smallville.
Be great. Lana Lane, Lois's sister. He gets with both of them.
I think Lois Lane does have a sister.
Yeah, but does Superman fuck both of them? That would be great.
Probably. We don't know what Superman's doing. He's so fast. He's so fast, Henry. We are only able to see the Superman stories that we're able to see.
That's true. It's true. It's very true. He only likes women with alliterative L names.
That's all comic book characters.
Yeah, Lois Lane, Lana Lang, Lucy Lawless, Lucille Luxers.
Keep going. You're nailing this bit.
Luscious Lipsies.
I love Luscious Lipsies.
Lily Lipschwitz.
Lily Lipschwitz is one of our finest Jew models.
All right.
Another 48 hours.
Never saw it.
Me neither.
That.
Well, I knew.
I didn't. I thought maybe I'd seen this in my travels. Never seen it.
I don't know. Because 48 Hours was always a movie I liked but didn't love, and so it was like, oh, there's a worse one. You want to watch that? I'm like, no.
I knew my whole life this was out there. I remember even when I should say. I'm not like you with the photographic childhood memory, but I do remember it coming out, but I don't know why. I just never.
I think it's that Another Man. I talked about this when we did Another Thin Man. It makes it sound like it's old hat. The word another.
Yeah.
Another 48 hours. We're going to fucking do it.
How many another's? Yeah.
I think just Another Thin Man, right?
Another Thin Man. Another 9.5 weeks.
Oh, you're right. Another 9.5 weeks.
Eventually, we're going to be doing another Stakeout.
True. I think the early 90s was probably the golden era of Another films.
Eventually, we'll do Another Woman.
Oh, yeah. Another Woman's a great sequel to Woman.
It's a sequel to Hannah and Her Sisters.
Yeah.
Another Batman.
Great film. Yeah. Another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a good one.
Another Hulk.
Great. Yeah. Good stuff. Another Brothers McMullen was a good film. All right, let's talk about Another 48 Hours. Walter Hill's back to direct. He's brought another host of fucking writers for no reason. We have, Larry Gross is back from the first one, Henry.
Yeah.
We also have John Fasano, the late John Fasano, who is mostly just he's a producer, but he's also written a lot, I guess.
Okay.
Universal Soldier stuff. Not
Ooh.
the first one. Okay, then there's Jeb Stewart.
Oh, we know him.
His name. When I say I'm working on a new Eddie Murphy vehicle, I'm like, get me a man named Jeb.
That's the first horrible Southern name you want,
Mhm.
especially one named literally after a Confederate general.
Yeah, he was hot at the time, though, because he had a writing credit on Die Hard.
Yeah, that's right. This is pre-Fugitive.
It's pre-Fugitive, yeah. Okay, so let's see, Henry. This Murphy, this was his decision. He wants to do another 48 hours.
I never had known that.
Yeah. He earned $12 million to make this movie, plus gross points.
Yeah.
He gets it made. He pitches it to Nolte. Nolte calls up Walter Hill, gets the gang back together. It comes out June 8th, 1990.
Yeah.
Summer release. Huge budget of $50 million. And it made $153.5 million. Does all right. Number 14 at the box office for the year.
Wow.
Between Days of Thunder and Three Men and a Little Lady. The only reason it's perceived as being a flop is because Total Recall came out the previous week and beat it in its second weekend.
Right. Holy shit. Yeah.
Also, Total Recall was they like really changed the game. So apparently the original like assembly cut of this movie was 2 hours and 25 minutes.
I'm glad that didn't happen, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Walter Hill managed to get it down to 2 hours flat. Okay?
Yeah.
And then Total Recall comes out a week before the movie. The studio gets cold feet, and they're like, we need this thing to be 90 minutes.
Now, why would that... Is Total Recall under 2 hours?
No, it's just that they feel that if there's another hit out there taking business from the movie, they want to make it shorter so that they can show it more times in a day.
Oh, very good movie trivia point that I always forget about. The movie house itself has to, the distributor want to get as much as they can out of it. Wow, my God, that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
that's not a consideration anymore, right? Because of the multiplexes, you can have the same movie in 4 different theaters.
Well, I mean, movie theaters are going to go the way of the dodo bird pretty soon, but I mean, it's still a consideration, but they don't consider it as much. Like, I feel like now mainstream audiences are a lot more willing to sit through long movies.
Yeah.
So it's not really a deterrent.
But I mean, right? But like now, if you missed Iron Man at 6, you can go see it at 6:30.
If it's a big enough movie, they'll play it in as many theaters as they need to.
Back then, that's not how it worked.
Right? Yeah. No. I remember as a kid, I would get sold out of movies fucking constantly. Like we never went to see anything the first weekend because we get sold out.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, let's talk about it. This is a poor movie, and I mean, God, this has to be in the Hall of Fame for movies that didn't need to get made.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't end up thinking. I thought it was going to be worse than it actually ended up being, but it was everything I was worried about it being, and a lot of that has to do with my focus on watching it of prime Eddie Murphy. And
this is not prime Eddie Murphy.
Exactly. It's 1990, and I have decided, after 30 years of thinking about it, this is the turning point year for him. Because this is also the year, I believe, of Harlem Nights.
Well, but I gotta be honest. I rewatched Harlem Nights recently, and now I think it's good.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a very long time, maybe over 20, 25 years. I mean, I don't even know. But what I mean by that anyway is like Eddie really becoming extremely...
Well, I wonder if that's why he wanted to do this movie, Henry, because he had decided he wanted to be an action star.
Yeah.
And so he like gained all that weight and muscle and in very unnatural seeming ways. And he made this movie, I think, maybe to remind people like, see, I could kind of be in action movies.
Yeah, it's just so funny because like it's also it's like a little bit of the difference between Beverly Hills Cop and Beverly Hills Cop 2, though he hadn't fully turned the corner there because he still had the humility and comedic touch to do Coming to America. But like at this point, I think Eddie is really, really, really full of himself. And it's just like the arrogance that was once the best, most endearing, hilarious part of him is now just arrogance.
He's well
And
off the rails. Here's
yeah,
what I can point to for his arrogance in this. In the first movie, it's Nick Nolte starring Nick Nolte, and then Eddie Murphy's second build.
hmm
And so for this movie, I kind of thought they'd do one of those things where they throw both of their names up at the same time.
yeah, I didn't notice. What did they do?
No, no, no. Starring Eddie Murphy, Nick Nolte, second build.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it, he still has a few moments in this movie, more than a few, where he's still that old, lovable Eddie, but it's
Not
just
really.
not. It doesn't work.
Sounds like he's forcing it. Like when he does the
Yes.
laugh, I'm like, what, are you trying to give us the hits?
I agree, and that's not even a laugh that he has in 48 hours.
Yes, he does.
I didn't notice it in 48 hours.
I did because I thought it was weird because we saw it in Beverly Hills Cop, and I'm like, well,
Right.
just all his characters have this laugh.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, does he have it in Trading Places?
I don't remember.
Because, like, is it it's a really basic question, I'm sorry, but is that an affected, like, totally affected laugh? Like a complete affectation?
Yes,
or is
of
that
course. No. That's like an Eddie Murphy bit that he does.
I know, but
It's a
he's been doing it-
punctuation.
he's been doing it so long, and he does it in his stand-up, that,
But
like,
but I don't think he does it in any movies after Beverly Hills Cop. Like it's in 48 Hours in Beverly Hills Cop.
oh, no, it's in The Golden Child, it's in all those,
Well, that's weird.
yeah. Well, it is, that's why I was never sure.
It would be like if Jim Carrey just like said "alrighty then" in The Mask.
in everything he's in The Truman Show. Oh,
Yeah. Just in the middle of the fucking Man on the Moon, he turned down, he like bent over and started talking out of his ass.
Never was able to do that laugh.
All right, Nick Nolte, we start with him again. He is on the trail of a fucking, like a major drug dealer who
Yeah.
is apparently such a myth that the cops don't even. Nick Nolte's the only cop that even believes this guy exists.
That's
All right.
believable.
Yeah, and his name is the Iceman.
Yeah.
I guess Nick Nolte has heard that name whispered in the underworld.
Yeah. I
How
don't
come
know
Nick
where
Nolte never has a partner in these movies?
That's a good point.
He's always just like they hate him.
That's a good point.
He's just running around San Francisco by
Yeah,
himself.
speaking of San Francisco, they always give Dirty Harry a partner. They never last. But
Yeah,
they
Tyne
give him
Daly.
one.
Tyne
Yeah.
Daly, that Asian guy was good.
I love that guy. He was in Deadpool. That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, he gets a partner. What is Nolte just?
I don't need what am I need a partner for? I already got a bulletproof vest.
Maybe you need a partner because you're constantly murdering people. At the beginning of this movie, he's on the tail of this guy who's like being hired to, like he's a hired murderer, basically.
Yeah.
And he tracks him down to this like construction site or whatever it is.
Right, a racetrack.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's funny. Like Walter Hill feels like he needs to have it at a racetrack because it's like we gotta have action at all times. So let's have our action scene take place somewhere where there's a lot of action going on.
I didn't even think about that. That's totally true.
Yeah.
I had thought at the very beginning, I think when I had said at the beginning of the show that Walter Hill had like a Tony Scott-esque feel, it was the beginning of this movie that I was thinking about. When they're in the desert, like over the opening credits, and they go to that bar that's located nowhere.
Yeah.
Hey
Hey, man.
like,
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna be like,
Yeah.
that's a real Tony Scott vibe. Like, I'm surprised he didn't put in some hazy mirage like special effect.
Hey, Tony Scott spent some time at the racetrack in 1990 himself.
He certainly did, baby.
Mhm. In fact, they were that was number 13, right ahead of this at the box office.
They've got to be friends, Tony Scott and Walter Hill.
Oh, well, I mean, not anymore, but there probably was a mutual respect at some time. But Walter Hill fucking wishes he's ever made something as good as True Romance. I'm calling that shit out, son.
I like how you picked the one movie it's Tony Scott.
Yeah.
I always think about that. I think about Tarantino, but that's not
It's a Tony
fair.
Scott movie. Tarantino wouldn't have done it the same way.
No, he certainly wouldn't have. But all right, you're gonna say the racetrack.
Oh,
so
anyway, so they at the racetrack, and it's like he sees that the hired hand guy, and he just immediately whips his gun out. I mean, he's wearing a bulletproof vest. He's covered, and the guy pulls out a gun first, right?
He does, yeah.
But then Nolte immediately just pulls a gun out. The guy who he's shooting at is using a gas tank for cover.
And these are in public.
Yeah.
Very public.
So granted, it's stupid to use a gas tank for cover, but I would argue that it's equally stupid for Nick Nolte to pull his gun out and start shooting at this man. Of course, the gas tank immediately lights up into an enormous explosion, thus killing this man instantly, incinerating him to a crisp. And then when the fucking, what is the internal affairs or whatever, when
Wilson,
when they have the balls to go up to Nick Nolte and be like, hey, I think you did something wrong, burning that man to a crisp. Nick Nolte's like, you fucking bureaucrats, I'm allowed to murder whoever I want. The head of internal affairs, by the way, is the great character actor Kevin Teige. Who you'll remember, of course, as John Locke's father who stole his kidney on Lost.
My God.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I was thinking
He
of. But
stole his kidney!
without permission?
He had permission, but it was a con, you see. He skipped town right after he got that kidney. But then he showed back up on the island. Don't even worry about it. Crazy shit. All right. Also, you wanted to discuss the great character actor Brent Jennings, who is the one hiring the hired killer, the contract killer in that scene. What did you know him from?
Well, I mean, tons of shit, but like I had just recently rewatched Moneyball and remembered how fucking great he is. And he's just one of those actors that he pops up a little bit like a Remar.
He's a pop-upper.
And he's great every time. And I don't know that I've ever seen him play a bad guy. He's usually in season 2, episode 1 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, When She Was Bad is the title of the episode. Brent Jennings plays the vampire Absalom. Buffy kills him. All right. Okay.
And more recently, Brent Jennings was absolutely fantastic on the well worth watching 2-season show Lodge 49 on AMC.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like the second lead to my man Wyatt Russell.
Oh, all right. Wyatt Russell. Yeah.
It's actually the biggest role I've ever seen Brent Jennings get in anything. He's usually more like in this, like has a few scenes.
I'm looking him up right now. I'm just very curious. So continue, because I want to talk about that explosion, because right away, I mean, the opening is dark, right? Dark.
It's like a parody, that explosion. It's like I'm watching fucking Loaded Weapon 1.
It just doesn't work. It's already putting its stamp on itself as being like it looks like it's trying to compete with stuff that it's not. It's not that type of movie.
Walter, I read it. I saw a quote from Walter Hill where he's like, well, sequels, I never wanted to make one because they're always like twice the budget and like half the fucking interest. And I'm like, I'm watching this movie. I'm like,
What'd you just do?
First of all, it's about 5 times the budget, Walter. So calm down. But yeah, like, what are you talking about? Like, if you never wanted to make a sequel, then don't make a sequel because, like, clearly your heart is not in this movie.
Yeah, totally, completely agree. God, we come across so many of those disingenuous comments by directors and actors, don't we? It feels like
Constantly.
every other show we do, it's like,
It's the nature of the show we do, Henry. We cover movie franchises,
Yeah.
and every
Yeah.
time a new movie comes out in the franchise, these actors and directors have to go out and promote it and pretend that they made this movie because they had a great new idea for a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Oh my god, it was like a bolt from the blue. I was like, now this is a way to really make this franchise sing in a different way you've never seen before. And then you go see the movie and it's just like, oh, it's like all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
By the way, how have we dodged that fucking bullet this long?
No one ever suggests it because I think like no one likes them anymore.
They're
Do
just
people
not-
want us to cover those? Because I don't
don't
hear
know.
it suggested that often.
Yeah, no, it's just they're huge.
Yeah, no,
Listen,
I think like right now the two biggest franchises we've never covered are that and Transformers.
oh, I was gonna say Lord of the Rings, but yeah,
Well, but that was like years ago. Or I guess the Hobbit movies were recently. Yeah, you're right. We fucking skipped that too. But that was
Yeah.
intentional.
that is correct.
Yeah.
That was an intentional avoidance. By the way, I would like to point out that Brent Jennings was recently spotted by us in the 1996 movie Children of the Corn 4: The Gathering.
I'm sure that I talked about that Buffy episode and Lodge 49 in that episode. So I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself.
Oh, it's fine with me. Oh, that's the Naomi Watts one.
I forgot there was a Naomi Watts one.
So
I remember that one being really boring.
I mean,
not terrible, but boring.
what did I gave it 1 star.
Me too. Okay.
Yes, you did. All right.
All right. So let's catch up with. I'm sorry. I wrote down Nolte's reaction when that fucking thing explodes. Like it's
Yeah.
such a huge explosion, and they cut back to Nolte, like clearly just a reaction shot that was shot on a different day, and all he does is "damn." Like
That's
just
what he said?
yeah, that's all. Like Nick Nolte, the master of overreaction, shoots a guy, incinerates him, and an explosion overwhelms a racetrack, and Nolte's just like, "Oh shit, that sucks."
So let's cut to Nolte is under investigation by the Internal Affairs Unit. Nothing new plot-wise there in a cop movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he needs to know why. He finds a photograph of skinny Reggie Hammond.
Yeah, right. At the racetrack.
So he decides, well, I got to go to prison, and he's getting out soon, and he's going to help me find who this guy is that wants to kill him, the Iceman, who his true identity is.
I don't understand why him finding a picture of Eddie Murphy. Like, I understand, like, that's a lead, and you should probably go to Eddie Murphy, but he, like, automatically knows, that he was being hired to kill Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. He's a fucking genius, I guess. I don't.
That's why I don't need a partner. I can figure this shit out on my own.
That's right. And you know that we first
God
see Eddie.
damn it!
Sorry.
We first see Eddie Murphy in this movie, and I'm going to venture to say, I'm going to go out on a limb here. It's not Eddie Murphy. It's a stunt double bouncing a basketball.
Oh. Wait, that's not the first time we see him, right? We see him singing Roxanne again.
No.
Oh, that's later? Okay.
That's later in the bus when he's free.
Oh, no. In the bus when he's free,
No.
he's singing James Brown.
You're right. In the hole. He gets thrown in the hole and is singing Roxanne. Yeah,
Mhm.
but that's not the first. The first time is in the basketball court, and
Yeah.
it's clearly not Eddie Murphy, who probably has never played a sport in his life. But it's buff time Eddie Murphy's got to be like very manly. So he's like, It's just the whole vibe.
I know.
Just,
In the first movie, like that, Reggie Hammond would have made a joke about like not understanding the rules of basketball.
exactly.
Like this Reggie Hammond, can throw a fucking 3-pointer with pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah, it's absurd. It's just
He
not
throws a
Eddie.
basketball at Nick Nolte's face, much like Pacey and Dawson in the detention episode of season 1 of The Creek.
Oh
And
my God.
I'm sorry, that was just to annoy you. And he wants Eddie to go in on it with him, but he won't. But he's getting out of jail. Why is Eddie still in jail?
Very, very poorly. Well, clearly, if I'm sure you read all the same stuff I read, and I guess all that time cut out of the movie really cut out a lot of explanation, and
Yeah,
they did
this
not
movie
make up
is
for it.
this movie is clearly packed with fucking side plots.
Yeah.
Just subplot after subplot. To my nerds out there, it was like a '90s issue of the fucking X-Men.
I made up my own backstory. I did as I was watching it. I was just like, all right, I guess he got out 6 months after 48 Hours and then went back to prison on a charge that was false, and now he's been there for 5 years.
But the false charge was that he stole payroll from the prison.
Right. And then also it's incongruent with the line he says to Nolte, which is, I was in prison for years and you didn't come visit me, making it seem as though he never got out 6 months after the end of 48 Hours.
No,
and he's still in there.
No, I think they found out about this this payroll scheme while he was in prison. But if that's the case, then how did he pull that off while being in prison?
It's ridiculous. I mean,
all you need to know is he's in jail for a crime he didn't commit, which is so fucking annoying and stupid. Because in the first one, he's in jail for a crime he did commit. That's interesting. Now, all of a sudden, like, we have to, like, up his hero level by now he didn't do it.
I agree. And this movie does something that could have been cool, which is that it ties in stuff from a movie. Its predecessor 8 years before it was made. It was made 8 years earlier. They try to tie in a lot of the plot elements, like the bag of money was actually the Iceman's money, who they ripped off.
I was okay with that.
Yeah, no, I was too. But then what they do that I don't like is that they want you to retrofit things that are stapled in your mind about the first movie and not think about them anymore. Like there's a lot of examples, but the most glaring to me was at the end when you find out who the Iceman is. And then you're like,
well, that's a big problem. And
the first movie completely colors away the first movie, the character. It's awful.
So now in the first movie, when you go back and watch those scenes where Keogh is helping Nick Nolte, you have to think, like, he knows who Reggie Hammond is. Yeah. Why is he helping?
He's a murderer. He's an awful guy.
But why would he be helping? Shouldn't he be trying to sabotage that operation or trying to find out where the money is? It seems that Keogh, as a cop, should be able to find out that the money is just stashed in a trunk somewhere.
You'd think he'd be able to get that lead somehow. Brian James, by the way, is the guy.
And he's playing a character who is, like, friends with Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte is keeping this car just, like, outside on the street.
He knows where. Yeah, that's true, too. It's not even in the garage anymore. Yeah. I mean, it's nonsensical and it's disappointing because I don't like movies like that. I mean, it has to really earn its stripes, a movie, to make me to do the heel turn for a Not that we had any great love of Brian James' character in 40 Hours. He's just a nice bit player. He's a good actor.
It's just annoying when you have a pure original movie, and then now that it's part of a franchise, we have to, like, go back and look at it differently. It's like how every time I watch fucking Scream 2 now, in the back of my head, it's like, oh, Scott Foley's really behind all of this. He's pulling the strings.
Yeah, and it was already. I actually had thought when I was watching another 48 Hours, when it was revealed seemingly for a minute that Edo Ross was the villain, I was okay with that. I was like, that's actually good because we just met him in this movie.
I wasn't okay with that.
Well, I was because I'll tell you why, because he's a really good actor. I like him too. He's another one who shows up in movies and he's always good. And I was like, he's played the kind of fumbling donut eating cop.
I don't know who this actor is.
What's that?
I don't know who the actor is. So that meant nothing to me. To me, he was just like some random guy in this movie.
You know Edo Ross?
From what?
You know, he's in Dick Tracy. He's in Lethal Weapon. He's a character actor. He's in a lot of stuff, dude. You look
Oh
him up.
yeah, he is one of the henchmen in I can picture him in Dick Tracy.
Yeah, and he's got one of my favorite lines in Lethal Weapon when he looks at Gary Busey and he goes, "I know one thing. This guy's a fucking psycho." No, where'd you get this guy? Psychos or us?
All right, he's in stuff.
But my point is that in this movie, they bring him in. He's very convincing as like a fumbling pal of Nick Nolte. He's always trying to get him to straighten out. And for him to do a heel turn and become this fucking Iceman is like, oh, that's not bad.
That works if he's a character we've spent any time with in this movie, but we have not.
Shitty movie like this, I'm taking what I can get. We spent enough time with him for it to be something.
To me, it would have made more sense. Like, Brent Jennings was the red herring. Like, to me, it would have been more surprising if it was like, oh, it actually is Brent Jennings.
That would have been cool. That would have been way too clever. Because that would be like a Kaiser Soze situation or something.
But that's the kind of character they had set up. He was like this smart, like, book
front man.
Yeah, like he wore glasses and he was like kind of like this like nerdy accountant type. It would have been cool if he turned out to be.
Yeah.
But no. It's Kehoe, the fucking cop friend from the first movie, for no goddamn reason. And supposedly, yeah, Brian James was like in this movie like a ton, and like his part got cut the most severely. But I mean, I don't know that.
What he said about that. I do like what he said. It was pretty funny when he was just like, "Did you read that quote?" Where he's like,
yeah. I mean, I can understand. It's probably the biggest role he ever got in anything, and he got mostly cut.
He literally said like blanket statement like, that's when I stopped caring about movies I was in. I just did them because I guess up until that point he wasn't jaded. Yeah. Because actually, well, his biggest role might have been in Blade Runner. Because he's the replicant, the main replicant in the front of the movie, in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
You don't remember that?
No, I remember.
No. Your juices didn't get flowing when I mentioned Blade Runner? I don't understand what's happening.
I mean, I pictured Ana de Armas nude for a second. That was all right.
2049. Oh, by the way, Blade Runner and 48 Hours, the same year. Big year for Brian James.
Wow, it's true. Yeah, it was the best year of his career, man.
That had to be. I always confuse that actor with the guy who plays in the Saw movies.
Oh, Tobin Bell? He does look like that guy.
I always get them mixed up, yeah.
You're right. What's his name? Brian James? I think that's the name of my sister's baby daddy.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. Oh, James is his middle name. Oh, I shouldn't be saying that on the podcast. Whatever, I don't care. Fuck that guy.
Now it's okay.
Here, Brian James. Yeah, he doesn't work anymore. Oh, he's dead.
Really?
He died in 1999. He didn't even make it to 9/11, this guy.
1999. That's awful. 54.
Yeah. He had a heart attack. Yeah.
Boy, he was in 100 movies.
Yeah, he was a real working actor for a while there. 5 Walter Hill movies.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's too bad. He's got that great character actor face, man.
Oh yeah, he's dynamite. A toast to Brian James.
Brian James, look at this fucking filmography. My lord.
Yeah, just tons of shit. Like trash, great movies, like
everything.
Fun Hollywood shit. Like he's been in everything.
True worker. Like just roles after roles after roles. It's unreal.
Recurring roles on television, bit parts in comedies, villains in westerns. He's been in fucking everything.
He had a heart attack. He's probably never slept. Jesus Christ. All right. The boys are back in town. It doesn't work when they play it this time in the movie.
No. All right. So Nolte, there's these like 3 biker guys, and they're the villains of the movie. I thought I'd hate them, but I kind of got into them.
Yeah, I waffled on them.
Well, I love to see Divoff, man.
That was amazing. I mean, I
The
couldn't.
Wishmaster himself is the fucking main villain in this movie, basically.
With a teardrop, a prison teardrop for a tattoo.
Incredible.
I couldn't even believe my eyes when I saw that.
When he first shows up on screen, he had like a long ass monologue, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
Yeah. I mean, his partners kind of suck. They're not.
They're
really
just there
that
to look
good.
scary. Like the only actual character of the 3 is Andrew Divoff, but that's fine because he's the Wishmaster.
That's-
They
Yeah.
shoot up Nolte. They shoot him about 17 times, only in the chest, and his Kevlar takes care of it, no problem. And then,
favorite tropes in movies, how like Kevlar, as if in real life Kevlar is impenetrable.
it's magical.
Oh my god! Like bulletproof vests are not always bulletproof.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get shot, like, that many times by, like, that, like, those guns looked insane. Like, they were, like, futuristic.
Come on, dude. I mean, Jesus Christ. Anyway, yeah.
And then they get Eddie on, like, the prison bus, and they, like, blow up the bus. He's not wearing a seatbelt. The bus tumbles 20 times.
And every time that Eddie sings, it's twice. He sings James Brown in the bus, and when he's thrown in the hole, he's singing Roxanne. The magic is just not there.
I have a real issue with this.
It's really bad.
In 1982, in the first 48 hours, they have him singing Roxanne by the Police. That's it's a funny choice. It's a recent hit, and to hear Eddie Murphy sing it in a silly voice is funny. Now, in this movie, they have him do it again, which isn't funny, and it also doesn't make sense that he'd still be listening to that song. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but, like, who gives a shit? Then he sings a James Brown song, which also is aggressively uninteresting, because we've seen Eddie Murphy do a James Brown impression many, many times before this.
That's right.
On
That's
SNL.
Right. That's right.
And so, like, wouldn't it be more funny to, like, have him, like, go up there and do, like, a Wilson Phillips song or a CNC
Yes.
Music Factory, something recent.
Wilson
If, like,
Phillips,
he
that
went
would've been
up
something.
there and did, like, Faith No More, I don't know.
No, I like your Wilson Phillips idea. It's perfect. Because you could even see him doing it. Someday somebody gonna make you want to turn around and say goodbye.
Right, or if he was like Lady in Red or something, like
great too.
that would be really funny.
Yeah, and part of the reason it's so funny in the first movie is you hear Eddie Murphy before you see him, and if you've never seen 48 Hours, we're ruining it for you. But if you've never seen it, you don't know, because the camera work is really good. You don't know it's Eddie
The tracking
Murphy.
shot, it's good.
Yeah, but even like Nick Nolte goes up to the guy and says, "I'm here to see him," and you can already hear somebody screaming this song, and you do not know it's his character. And then the way he's in the reclining, inexplicable lazy boy chair in a prison cell, and he's singing the chorus when he's like, "Put on the red light, rock to put on the red."
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
genius.
such a good character introduction that it like, I wouldn't be surprised if this was Walter Hill. In his mind, he was like, well, I'm like presenting Eddie Murphy to the world in this moment.
You think that's his idea?
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, a lot of subplots happen, and they're running around looking for these motherfuckers, because after all that, Eddie agrees to work with Nolte. They're annoyed with each other. They're bickering. We have to do that. It's like when you do a sequel to something where, like, a couple ends up together at the end of a movie, and then you have them bickering in the next movie because that's all you know how to do with them.
Yeah.
There's a ridiculous subplot with Bernie Casey in the prison where Eddie Murphy has to do a favor for Bernie Casey. That's in the movie for no reason whatsoever. There's a long extended sequence with a sexy lady pickpocket in a bar that doesn't work for a single fucking second.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. No point. No point. Yeah, very, very strange. I don't know. It's just an odd movie, and I just feel like at the beginning of it, there might have been some heart and some real reason for Eddie to want to do it besides just money and trying to prove himself. He might have actually wanted to revisit a great character.
I don't think
know,
so.
but
He made this because he wanted to be in an action movie, and he already knew he had a franchise.
yeah. But I mean, it really feels chopped up, and it's one of the most of the movies we've covered. It's one of the most obviously edited movies I've ever seen on this for this show. Like the plot holes aren't stuff Dan and I are just questioning. They are literally there for you to see in the movie. You're like, wait, that didn't follow that in any way. It's unreal.
There are multiple threads set up that just go nowhere. About this is like a 95-minute movie. About 85 minutes in, we introduce a love interest for Eddie Murphy. What are we doing?
Yeah,
and it's Tisha Campbell Martin, the great Tisha Campbell Martin.
Yeah, and you know, I looked at the time on the movie. I paused it when it's revealed that Brian James is the Iceman, and it's like there's like 13 minutes to go. So I already knew, like, wow. So when this ends, we're not going to get any denouement at all, and we don't. It ends in the club. There's a big shootout. Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy have like
Eddie Murphy shoots a guy in the club with an enormous crowd of people standing behind him.
Yeah, right.
And if he missed that guy's leg, someone's dead.
Dead. Nolte shoots Eddie in the shoulder to throw off Brian James.
That was okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been done like a million times, but they do it okay.
And then Eddie goes out in a stretcher, steals Nick Nolte's lighter, which, by the way, is a great gag in the first movie. But
I didn't even remember it, and I watched it 2 days earlier.
Oh, you didn't remember the lighter gag?
I like looked up the plot of the first one, just like refresh me, and at the end it was like he steals his lighter, and I was like, oh, that's where that comes from.
And again, it was done already in the first one. Now it's tired. I don't know. You know, when sequels are done well, you can bring that stuff back, and it's great. You love seeing that.
You can't, though. No. You don't, though. You want to see the characters do new shit. We see this time and again with comedic movies that are made into sequels. You just see the same tired gags over and over again. They don't write new jokes. And in this movie, it's like they didn't even write a fucking movie. It's just an excuse to have Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte in the same room again.
It did remind me a little bit, this movie, in the forcedness. Is that a word? The forcedness of wanting us to. It's like these guys. Remember these guys? Remember these guys? How much you love them? It reminded me very much of Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that.
There's so much of that in Ghostbusters 2. It's such a turnoff. It's like, remember why Venkman's so funny? You remember how Ray is all into the paranormal? Well, now he has a bookstore of the paranormal. It's like so much shit like that. And it's just like forced on you. There's no, like, because 48 Hours and Ghostbusters have that in common, that they're very effortless. They're dependent completely on the actor's charisma. It doesn't feel that scripted. It feels very improvised. And then their sequels are like these overcooked,
sweaty movies.
Yeah. So
no, I know. I also want to bring up Die Hard with a Vengeance because, again, usually we wait until the third movie in a franchise to like delve into the mythology of the characters. But I thought it was interesting that they made Andrew Divoff James Remar's estranged brother, who's like getting revenge for his brother's death. You know, we've seen this in movies before too, and it's such a tired idea. Like, usually you see it in the third one because it's a way to extend a franchise once you're like running out of ideas. But it's already the second one, and this is like the only idea they had. Oh, remember the one guy from the first one is his brother.
And it's so great in Die Hard with a Vengeance because
they actually have a story to tell in that movie.
There's a story, and you don't even when they tell you that it's Hans Gruber's brother, it's way in deep into the movie. So it just like adds another element, and it's directed so well by McTiernan and acted so well that it's Jeremy fucking Irons. So I mean, it's
Yeah,
like
and because you reveal him so late in the movie, then you're forced to make him an interesting character without
Yeah.
that.
that's right. That's right. He's already fascinating because
Mhm.
it's fucking You're right.
It's
And this
like
is
that raises the stakes. In Die Hard with a Vengeance, what they do is create a great villain, and then late in the movie they reveal, oh, and guess what? He's fucking related to that other villain you love.
Yes, that's right. And there's just none of that here. I don't know, man. It's a mess. It's a mess, but it's not as it was painful, but not as painful as I thought it was going to be.
No, listen, it's Walter Hill. Like, I mean, I'm yet to be sold on him as this like brilliant auteur, but he's definitely a craftsman.
Yeah,
and like
I mean,
he can put
knows
together.
how to-
There's like a good motorcycle chase at one point. There's like a
Yeah.
few good action sequences. Eddie has a couple of moments.
he does.
Nolte gives his. Why'd they have him quit drinking?
That was an interesting thing. I don't know. I mean, that was weird because
Now there's
it
less
didn't-
of an excuse for him being such a shitheel.
Yeah, it didn't change. I was just gonna say it didn't change his character at all.
Yeah, he's seemingly a worse person than he was.
Right, and he still broke up with his wife. We find out in 1/10 millisecond.
I'm surprised they
monologue.
even fucking bothered.
Yeah, I know.
She lives on this. It's my house. She lives in it.
We don't even see the inside of his house. Would have been nice. Where does this guy live?
Yeah, we
We
need
never
that.
see his domicile in either movie. We don't see where he lives. That's Annette O'Toole's joint in the first movie.
No, yeah, show it to me like Fletch. I like seeing
Love
a
Fletch's
fun apartment.
This apartment is fantastic. You get the
Right.
Lakers basketball hoop.
People climbing through the window. It's great. All right.
All right. I'm good.
You're good. Me too. It's a 2, right?
Yeah, I am. Oh, I thought you were going to give it a 1.
No, to me, like, this is like solid 2. It's not a 1. It's not unwatchable. It's totally fine. It has it's just such a nothing. It's the express example of like a really good movie and then just a nothing sequel. That's mostly what you have when something only runs 2 movies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not. We've done one-offs where, have we? Where there's a sequel as good as the original?
No, that never happens. It's always like Independence Day and Independence Day Resurgence when you have a second one.
Gotta be a one-off we've done.
Where the second one's better than the first or as good?
As good.
I don't think you could come up with one.
I don't know. I want to go look now. I'm really curious because I never thought about it. That's like puts this whole thing in a new category for us.
Yeah.
It means every time we do a one-off, we're in for one good and one shit. I don't know.
Or
man.
just 2 shits.
Right. That's happened too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm very glad we covered it because I got to see another 48 Hours, and clearly I had never seen it, and I don't know that I ever will again. 48 Hours is my
No,
movie.
I'm great. I'm great for life on this one. When this
Yeah.
comes up in the high stakes letterboxed game for the patrons out there, this will be in the never again pile.
Pretty easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, 2 stars. MVP for me. You're gonna laugh, but I just liked him. Ed O'Ross. There's not much to grab in this movie. I liked him in the role.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm gonna go ahead. I really liked Kevin Tighe as the head of internal affairs.
Horribly sleazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's perfect.
he was
yeah.
kind of my favorite villain in the movie.
Great. And he's not even that much of a villain.
No, I
Yeah.
kind of side with him. Yeah, who's your LVP?
One of the guy, the Jin's partners, Hickok, an actor, David Anthony. He's the guy with the burns and the sideburns and the
Yeah.
basically rape this woman. I don't know. He sucks
I'm with you.
because the Jin is enough. You know, he's got these 2 hicks around him. I don't know. It's
All right.
garbage.
my LVP, no offense to the great Bernie Casey, who has been excellent in many, many movies. But, I mean, I can't remember the last time I've seen a movie with such an extraneous character. I really think they would have cut this subplot out entirely if they didn't have Bernie Casey in the role.
I thought yes, and I thought you were going to say if they couldn't reveal he had a daughter to give Eddie a nice little
Oh,
scene.
right, yeah, she's his daughter. That was dumb.
But
we've covered Bernie Casey, though. I have nice things to say when he was our Black Felix Leiter in Never Say Never Again.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. That'll do it this week.